Joining me now to discuss is former Europe, Africa, and Middle East editor at the Associated Press, Dan Perry, who knows all of this very well. Thank you very much for joining us today. We want to get your take on all this. And first, I want to listen to that moment this week where President Trump discussed the possibility of sending troops into Venezuela. Listen.
No, I don't rule out that. I don't rule out anything. We just have to take care of Venezuela. I'm not in love with the people running Venezuela.
Okay, so now the FAA says aircraft in the area are at risk at all altitudes. So I wanted to ask you, how rare is a warning like this? And what does it signal about how serious the situation has become? Because it does sound serious.
It is pretty rare. Of course, it isn't rare in a state of war, obviously. I don't think they assume Venezuela is going to be shooting down U.S. Airplanes. And U.S. airplanes overflying Venezuela is, at this point, kind of rare also. But it's a message, to be sure, that they expect the country to be unstable. I doubt there would be a ground invasion of Venezuela. That could go south so many different ways, no pun intended, and is opposed by the military in a way that is extreme. The option of bombardment from the air is unlikely to bring down Maduro also. I think the broader strategy by setting up this armada in Trinidad and in general just off the coast of Venezuela is to make clear to Maduro that his time is up. And I think in that regard, it's working. You see Maduro basically asking for talks, suggesting he's willing to be flexible, and it just has to be made clear to him that there's not much wiggle room at all, and he simply has to go. It may be wise at some point, in some way, for the Trump administration to offer Maduro and his cronies, which may include significant cadres in the military and also various governors around Venezuela, some kind of safe passage and secure asylum wherever. Could be China, could be Russia, could be Cuba, but to make clear that they can escape with their lives versus the likelihood that if they stay in Venezuela in one way or another, they are in clear and present danger. And the most likely avenue for that, I have to think, would be the compelling of splits in the military, some sort of military coup. Oftentimes, when you think there's going to be a revolution, what you're actually getting is the military taking over from an unpopular, incompetent government. I've seen that personally happening in Egypt. After Mubarak, I saw it in Romania. 35 years ago, what we call revolution was basically a coup by the security services.
Yeah, when we had you on last time, we were talking about some of that video that we were showing about the U.S. attacks on these drug boats. And House Democrats spoke to reporters this week about their opposition to any potential U.S. military operations against Venezuela. And this comes of what Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton had to say. Let's listen here.
The Constitution is not ambiguous here. Congress decides when this country goes to war, not the president. And this is not a war the American people want. We owe our troops better than this. They deserve leaders who look out for them and for our country and keep them out of moral and legal danger. And they deserve a Congress that refuses to let this president send them to fight and die in an unnecessary war.
You know, but the White House says that Maduro and his top officials run this narco-terrorist organization, and that designation takes effect Monday. So when you take a look at the timing here, how might that deadline drive the likelihood and timing of any U.S. action?
Well, I mean, it doesn't obligate the U.S. to do anything, but it constitutes justification and could, in the end, should Trump attempt to get Congress to justify war powers in this case, it might give him an argument. But then again, the idea that Trump will wait for Congress to give him the green light seems a little fantastical, not only because that's not in his nature, but also because the track record of the House and Senate GOP in staying his hand. In very clear cases where he violated the law, like in my view, as you know very well, Laura, the tariffs, is bad. They tend to go along with whatever he wants. Will that continue if he launches a war without the approval of Congress? In clear violation of the War Powers Act is yet to be seen. But as I say, I think most analysts are skeptical that there's going to be an invasion of Venezuela.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.